Hey, welcome to this week's training. Today, we got a really amazing guest. I've got Johnny Vibes on here with me. Now, for some of you guys who may not be in the poker scene, but you're entrepreneurs, you're going to want to follow Johnny. I started looking at his stuff for poker reasons because I just like poker. I started following his vlogs. And then I started seeing something really interesting. He wasn't just one of the top people in poker. He was also one of the top people in the vlogging world and the online space. And something that really just piqued my interest as an internet marketer was seeing how he transitioned from being a poker player into being a professional YouTuber. And I've got some really cool questions. We're going to see how he identifies himself as a poker player or blogger. But let's go ahead and get started. Johnny, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Carlos. It's fun to chop it up with you. I know we've chopped it up a few times through the YouTube channel. Like I would have never met you if it wasn't for YouTube. That's probably one of the biggest blessings from being in the digital world now is I've made connections with all of these people that I would not have become friends with if it were just grinding away at the poker tables.
Dude, you know what's funny, and we'll hop into it, but what's really funny is I actually met I think one or two people from Phoenix while I was on your meetup game on like a Zoom call, and we both played a talking stick and all that. I'm like, wow, what a small freaking world, man. So
Yeah, have
that
you met them in real life or was it only through the?
it was only through there, and then we
Okay.
never had a chance to connect yet. But I've been dying to do it because I see people at the casino with different merch. They have a Rampage merch. They have all these different things. I'm like, man, this is just it's such a small world, you know.
Yeah.
So one of the ways one of the things I really wanted to start with, man, is just kind of getting a background from you. What's your story? How did you, how did you even get into poker? Where are you from? Let's start there.
I mean, it's really crazy to think about. I feel like as we grow up, we're kind of a product of our parenting. We're a product of the environment that we grow up in. So if you like looked at the product of the environment that I grew up in and the parenting that I had, the fact that I'm a poker player, YouTuber that's making a living online is just absolutely mind blowing because that's not what my path was. My path was more, take the very safe. My mom wanted me to go to college, and nobody in my family had ever really gone to college or gotten a college degree. And the first person in my family to get a college degree was actually my mom. And she did that when I was in ninth grade. So it took her a long time to get there. But that was kind of like the values like, okay, we're going to turn this around. Our family's going to be the one to, you know, do higher education and go on to make better lives for ourselves. So I started down that path, and I was doing a computer science program through Purdue University in Fort Wayne, and I ended up getting a 2-year degree, which at the time was good enough to get a software development job, and because they needed programmers at this time. This is like .com boom area, and I remember the first time that I got a job offer, I was 21 years old, maybe post my associate's degree. They offered me, like the whole package when they factored in like the benefits and like they make it look real pretty on paper. And it was like $50,000 a year. And I was like, oh my, they're going to pay me $50,000 a year. This is absolute madness. Like it was just mind blowing. I remember so excited to accept that job offer. I think that the actual like take home, even pre-tax, was like 38,000 maybe or
Right,
37, but then they add in like all these other benefits to make the offer look, a little bit sexier than it actually is.
right.
Um,
And
so
where is
yeah,
this? Yeah,
I was
where
thought I
is
was
it
going to be
in
a software
California?
developer. Yeah.
Sorry, was this in California?
No, this is in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne, Indiana. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's where I went to college at. So I thought that getting, and even when I got that job, I was like, okay, maybe I'll go back to school and get my bachelor so that I can move into upper management. Like the dream was painted for me that I would climb the corporate ladder, that I would actually get a corporate job, be the first person in my family to get a corporate job, then climb the corporate ladder to where maybe I could be like a higher level manager one day, and maybe perhaps make six figures. So then leaving that job after 5 years, I kind of realized that if I wanted to move up in the company, I would have to leave programming and I would have to go into management. And management is fine, but I started seeing like my brother playing online poker. This was like during the poker boom. He was like my little brother, so he was a few years behind. Perfect timing for online poker for him because he was just getting out of high school. And it was at a time where you could have a lot of success in poker without having a ton of knowledge, because there was so much money flooding in and you only needed a real basic strategy to win a lot in 2004, 2005. So he started telling me like, bro, you need to look at this online poker thing. And I'm like, bro, I just got into corporate America. Like, I'm living the dream. What are you talking about here? You know, the entrepreneurship dream, like I that wasn't like in my path. It wasn't my, nobody in my family had ever been an entrepreneur. Like the thought of creating a life, creating wealth, creating autonomy through what you do to make money, it just was so foreign to me. And it was something that I never even thought was possible. So when my brother started to make money playing online poker, I took a little bit of an interest, but never really thought it was like a path that I could pursue in terms of something for myself to build a big life for myself. But slowly by slowly, man, it's just like who you surround yourself with. And all of a sudden, like, maybe I can do this, or maybe I should learn a little bit more about this. And then, you know, once I started making money playing poker, like, wow, maybe I could leave my job. Like, it's just not one day the flip switches. It's a gradual, you know, learning, relearning the new things in my life to make me perhaps believe that I could make a life like that. So it was gradual, but we ended up quitting the job, moving to Vegas. And then the same thing with creating content, man. Like, the first time I ever created a video, I never thought that I was going to be a content creator. Like, that was the furthest thing from my mind. It was like, let's just have a little bit of fun with this. And it did take off pretty quickly because I kind of had a knack for software in general. Uh, Not necessarily like I didn't have a knack for storytelling, but I had a knack for composition and software. But in terms of my presenting to the audience and my being able to piece together stories, I was really far behind in that aspect. But that just came with practice, and now like it's something that I take great pride in. And you know, the digital marketing aspect of it, like I really love that as well now. You know, I used to think of marketing and salesmanship in like the same breath. And now I realize that it's not that at all. And like, I was like, oh, I never want to be a salesman. Like, I never want to do that. But now I just like, I just tell my story and I do it in the most authentic way that I can. And like a tribe starts to form around me. And as a result, like I have a little bit of an influence with the tribe of people that I built. And all of a sudden I'm a marketer and I didn't even realize it, you know?
So let's go back just a little bit. So when you were playing poker, your brother got you into it, it sounds like, right?
Mhm.
And then you were working your job. At what point? Because that's kind of a big leap. I mean, I don't want to gloss over. You went from working this corporate job to going to Vegas. And did you move to Vegas with your brother? You said we, so I don't know.
Yeah, my brother. My brother has been my mentor for the longest time. It's really crazy because I was his like older brother, and I was the one that was supposed to show him the way and get him into college and steer him down the right path. And I did that. I did that for the majority of my life as like an older brother, setting a good example for him and things like that. But it shifted with poker. Like poker was the one thing where it started to like, oh, my brother's actually showing me a few things here, and he's showing me the way in a lot of aspects. So my brother and I have always had a super tight relationship. We're 2 years apart. We never went to the same school for more than 2 years in a row. We moved around a lot, tumultuous living situations, at times sleeping on couches. My parents were divorced, single mom. My mom didn't graduate from college until I was in ninth grade, like I said. So it was definitely a situation where the brotherhood was strengthened because of the adversity that we faced as children. And because my role was the oldest in the household, I always kind of had that bond with him. And when he moved to Vegas to play poker, I was, first of all, I missed him. And I'm like,
So
maybe
he
I should
went
go out there
before
with
you.
him. Yeah, he went there 6 months before me. And that 6 months, I was like, that was the period of time where I was like, okay, maybe I could go with him and play poker. Because it was the first time that we hadn't lived together for 6 months in our whole entire life. So it was a product of me actually shifting my mindset and maybe I can do this, and also missing my brother and just kind of wanted to hang out with him and pursue that life with him.
Wow, I love that. I love, it's such a, so there's a couple things that are really interesting to me. One is to be able to go from not necessarily being this entrepreneur to when you're a poker player, you're essentially an entrepreneur, at least in my eyes, right? You're still an entrepreneur. You're grinding for your own money. You eat what you kill. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, right? So that's really interesting. The other thing I find really interesting is that as the older brother, and anyone in general that's older than somebody else, a lot of folks have this hard time actually learning from somebody younger. It's like this mental block that they have. I think, I don't know if it's the pure credit to your success, but some of the credit to your success has got to be the ability to learn from people that may be younger or in different situations and things like that, instead of being like, well, I'm here, I've got this corporate job, I'm living the dream, you got to stop this other stuff, right? That's just
Yeah,
really interesting.
poker
Have
is
you
the
always been like
biggest.
that?
Poker is the biggest. It's like the biggest tool for learning about your life because it is a game, but because of the dynamics within the game, it it offers such an opportunity to teach you about yourself. And in poker, the youngest people are generally the ones who are fresh on the new technologies, who are working the hardest to study game theory, who are implementing the newest strategies with no fear because they're not attached to the way that they came up because they are coming up, like they're figuring it out. And in poker, the youngest ones are the pioneers in our game in a lot of ways. So yeah, my brother was the young gun, was the young guy who was like showing me the way within poker. And yeah, it was without him, I would never have. I would perhaps left my corporate life, but it would have been a lot tougher, and it wouldn't have definitely it wouldn't have been through poker because gambling was like the farthest thing from our family's life
Wow.
that we could ever imagine.
Wow. That's okay. So without giving an exact number, was there like, was there, since you're working this job, you obviously have bills to pay. Like, did you have to like hit this certain bankroll amount in your poker bankroll before you said, you know what, I'm going to actually take this professional shot now? Because that's just a big scary leap for a lot of people in general, whether they're going from an employee to just straight, starting their own business. But I mean, this is just even more scary, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
you?
I was definitely I'm definitely not overly a risk taker by my nature. And I feel like as the older brother, it's just like a responsible trait inside of me that's like risk averse. I think it's held me back a little bit in my poker career. I've climbed stakes a lot slower than a lot of people, other people would have. And it's caused me to not chase some other situations because I wanted to be sure. Daily fantasy was like something that a lot of poker players excelled at in the first couple of years. I didn't
Daily
even try
fantasy,
it.
what is that? I don't even know.
Daily fantasy sports.
Oh,
It,
gotcha. I
you
thought
know,
this was
like
like a new GTO thing. I'm like, wow, I don't know what's going
no, no,
on.
no, yeah, like people were leaving poker to try these new things. Cryptocurrency, like people were getting into that really early. I was a little bit later to that. Like this whole NFT space, poker players were the first one, like some of the first people to jump into that. I'm a little bit late to that one as well. So like I'm just like I'm a wait and see kind of guy and a little bit more risk averse. I'm not even sure where I was going with this, but yeah. So I know where I was going with this. So when it was come time to like, am I good enough to make a living playing poker? You got to remember, I was making $50,000 a year, but my actual salary was more like $37,000 a year. When you take taxes out of that, the weekly paycheck that I was getting was, I don't know, maybe like $800 a week. It wasn't like mind blowing or anything. So when I started playing poker, I'm like, can I make $800 a week playing poker? And quickly in 2005, 2006, you could easily make $800 a week playing poker, spending 20 to 30 hours a week grinding and spending the other 5 to 10 hours a week studying. Like that was just so easy to do back in the day. So I was able to do that to match my current salary and then start exceeding it. And then when I was making a couple $1,000s a week, only playing 20 hours, and then I have my full-time job where I have to work 40 hours and only make $800 a week. It kind of was like, oh, I could probably spend some more time on this poker thing. I can set my own hours. I can travel the world. And you mentioned that poker players are kind of like entrepreneurs in a sense. Like we set our own schedule, we have freedom, but it's still you still have to sit in the seat and make money. Like you're not generating a business. Like you're generating a job for you. You're creating a job for yourself.
Well, actually, that's so true. Here's and you just sparked something else. I think you mentioned you had some people that you were staking.
Mm-hmm.
Is I don't know if you still do that,
Yeah.
but can you kind of talk about what brought you into doing that? Because that's another level of entrepreneurship. Talking about now you're not the only person in the seat earning. Now you've almost got employees working for you, right? Or in my life, it's like salespeople. I have commission only salespeople closing deals. They get paid when they close a deal. I provide the lead and the opportunity, and I get a little bit of money. Same kind of situation in here with staking.
It's
Can
the
you
exact same thing. Like you were doing something in your professional life where you're like, I could actually teach someone else to do this and then make some little residual income on the side for it, for transferring that knowledge to this person, perhaps being a mentor for them. It's the same thing in poker, man. Like you get to a place where you're like, man, I'm really slaving away at the table here. Is there another thing that I can do? And naturally, I'm like, I know this one thing. I know poker. I know it really well. I can teach it to someone else and have them making money in no time at all. Like I had that confidence. And if I can't teach them to do it, then I'll move on to someone who I can teach to do it. Like I don't need to waste time like, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I can move on and repeat this process. So I did that with 2 to 3 people at a time. But like with poker, there's an emotional aspect of the game that you kind of really need to be hands-on with the people that you're mentoring. So it did set me up for some nice residual income. I remember one of the biggest days that I had as a poker player it was like Christmas Eve, and I was at home hanging out with my family, and one of the guys that I was staking won $25,000 that day, and it was like I didn't do anything for that other than put the time up front to teach him how to play, and I got half of that money, so it was like kind of like an aha moment for me where I can repeat this over and over. But like I said, that becomes a job too, and it's not very scalable because it's your time one-on-one, and the most that you can really scale that out is maybe 3 or 4 people before you start to run yourself really thin. You're not working on your own game that much. You're not playing that much on your own, staying sharp. I don't have time to create YouTube videos because I'm spending all the time staking people. So I saw YouTube and digital marketing as like an even bigger scalable thing where
Yeah.
that now I don't have just access to 2 to 3 people that I can help. I can literally help thousands of people with one YouTube video.
Wow. Okay. So before we get, because I'm dying to get into YouTube, you mentioned NFTs. That was a little question I wanted to ask you too. But before we get in there, where we kind of left off in your journey is you're in Vegas. You ended up moving there with your brother. Your brother was there 6 months before, I think you said. How long? And I think you ended up in California too, didn't you? Eventually.
Yeah,
So
I've been back and forth between Vegas and California for pretty much the last 10 years.
okay. So like, so how did that go? So you moved to California or to Cal? I'm sorry. You moved to Nevada. You moved to Vegas. You started grinding there, I assume. Like what? Like did you do that? Is that kind of like the journey? Like at what point did you start transitioning to like vlogging? That's kind of I think where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, so I was in poker for a solid 10 years
Oh wow.
before making a living playing professional poker for 10 years
Wow.
before I ever fired up the camera. And
So you're like one of those
it's,
real professionals.
yeah, so it's like I mean, I was a grinder, just like cash
Wow.
games. And like what we talked about before, it's a process of how do I make money without having to sit at the poker table? And that was staking people. I started staking people about 5 years into my poker career. And then I did that for like 5 years. And while I played, and then it was like, what's the next thing? Oh, I started a clothing brand. And I'm like, I don't know how to market this clothing brand. So then I'm like, maybe I'll learn how to do Instagram. I'll learn how to do YouTube. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do YouTube, what do I talk about? Like, I don't really know. I'm not an expert on anything except for poker. So I started talking about poker and then built a little tribe of people that were like, you know, really invested in my success, appreciated that I was offering them educational value on YouTube for virtually nothing. So they would support and they would buy my merch and, come to my meetup games and show up to play online meetup games and do things like that. So yeah, it's just like one foot in front of the other. When I started playing poker, I never like thought that the big picture would be I would still be in poker 14 years later. Now my time is split between making YouTube videos, playing poker, working on an NFT startup project, doing podcasts with my friends. Like my days are they're so like eclectic in a lot of ways, but they're all kind of feeding this entrepreneurial lifestyle that I've created for myself that allows me to be creative, not put all of my time in one thing that gets overly draining. Like I'm playing probably 5 hours of online poker a week, 5 hours of live poker a week, cash games. And then I'm now during the WSOP, that's going to change a lot. The WSOP, I'm going to play every single day, which for those of you that the audience that doesn't know, that's the World Series of Poker. It takes place once a year in Vegas. It's like a 6-week festival of poker. And that's like the one time a year where all the poker players gather, the best tournaments, the best cash games throughout the year. So my focus will shift primarily to poker over the next 6 weeks, and I'll be playing probably 50 hours of poker per week, and then creating content all around poker.
Wow. Okay. So it's so funny. Like all of my friends that we play home games and stuff here in Arizona, I have no home games for like the next month and a half now. They all went to Vegas. So I'm like, oh shit, everyone literally is going to there. We were just talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started your merch essentially, it sounds like, before you did the YouTube channel. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. I started the merch as like a creative project. You know, when you have a lot of like freedom in your to design your schedule, and your entrepreneurial instincts are like starting to grow within inside of you, and that fire starts to burn, it's like, well, what do I love to do? Like I love fashion. Like, so it's something that I've always been interested in. And so I was like, let me see if I can create a clothing brand from scratch. You know, I'll design the clothes. I was like cutting and sewing clothes and like having my wife try them on and like trying them on myself, taking pictures. Like it was
All
just a
right.
fun creative project for me that ended up losing me a lot of money, but it led to me learning YouTube, me learning Instagram, me learning how to market, you know?
So when you started doing stuff on YouTube, I found that there's a couple types of people when they get in this online space. There's the person who it's like, you know what? I don't even want to have to struggle as much as a lot of these other people. I'm going to buy some courses, hire some people to show me stuff, and I'm going to go down that route. I'm just going to learn from other people and then do it. And then you have the other people who are just like, I'm just going to do it and figure it out as I go along. What did you kind of fall into one of those categories?
I would say that I'm a perfectionist by nature. So it took a lot of compromise with myself to put some things out that I knew weren't that great in terms of like the quality of the production. And it was hard. Like I knew that like the cameras that I was using weren't that great. The exposure was bad. Like my editing wasn't that good. But I was like, I want to get better at this. And the only way to get better at it is to like start doing it. Like I'm never going to be perfect at something. The first time I played poker, I wasn't great, but I knew that if like I wanted to get better at it, that I would have to like start putting seat time in. I'd have to start studying. If I want to get better at making YouTube videos, I had to start making videos. You
Yeah.
can't get better at making YouTube videos by learning how to make videos for a year and then making your first video. My experience is you do both, but mostly do and then learn from your mistakes as you do.
100%, 100%. And you've grown really quickly. There's people who can't even get 1,000 followers. You have multiple thousands of followers. Did
Yeah,
you?
I think that it was a product of me being a professional poker player for 10 years and then talking about poker to an audience that to a niche that didn't have a lot of other content creators in the space. So I had the credibility and I had the willingness to share educational information. So every time you upload a piece of content to the internet, it's a value proposition for the person to watch it. And my value proposition, because I'm not overly entertaining, I'm not overly funny, I'm not like the best presenter. Like me, this is me getting wild right now. You know, like this is like the top of my range when it comes to my entertainment value. I have education, like I have poker knowledge. I can show you how I played my poker hands so that the next time you go to the casino, maybe you'll pick up something that I said in my last video about how you should play ace king on dry boards out of position when you're the pre-flop aggressor. I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I was just giving that value to people up front and not asking them for anything in return. Like just subscribe to my channel if you want. And then occasionally I'd be like, oh, you want to buy some merch? You can buy some merch. But I've never been like real promotional, and I just kind of people reward me for just being authentic and showing them how I play my educational value, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell just from a viewer on the outside, you definitely lead with like good content first, which makes people just want to support you. Like it just happens. Like your new podcast that you started, Embrace the Grind. I mean, I've watched I think every episode there. You've got some real cool people on there that it appeals to I think a lot more than just poker players because you have people there that are doing trading and they talk about their transition to trading, and that was super interesting to me. I mean, it's so you've done a lot of stuff, but it seems like you always lead with value. And so I don't know if a lot of us grew up, a lot of people grew up not being very comfortable with money or selling or any of that because you didn't want to be that guy or that lady. And I don't know if you're still like that, but I don't think you are, but everything you do that's leading with value just makes it so much easier to buy from you. Have you thought about that like as a conscious decision? You know what? I don't want to be super promotional, so I'm going to be super content driven. Was that
Yeah,
like
well, I think the other thing to keep in mind is that the more you dilute your channel and the more you dilute your brand with sales and partnerships, the less credible you are, in my opinion. So if like I lead every video with, hey guys, I partnered with uh SeatGeek today,
right?
right? And like get your tickets at SeatGeek. And then the very next video, I'm like, hey guys, Dollar Shave Club. Like as you can tell, I have a beard and like it grows really fast and I use and then the next video was like, remember Dollar Shave Club? Well, sometimes you just want to trim. That's where you go with Manscaped. Like if I did that every single video, like that would dilute my brand so that it like if I ever do actually want something from people one day, if I actually do want them to buy my hoodie, like now they're like, look, dude, I bought your Dollar Shave Club, I bought your Manscaped, I bought this other thing. Like I just feel like it's, it's too much. A lot of people do that and that's just not me. I don't know. It's fine, but it feels like selling out in a lot of ways. And I don't know. I was primarily a poker player first. So it gave me this luxury of not feeling like I needed to sell out because like I have this thing that makes me money. Like
Mhm.
I think a lot of digital marketers, their only way to make money is through their digital marketing. So they go all in with the selling out initially right off the bat. But I had the luxury of like having this other thing in the background that's like making me money. I don't really need to do that, you know?
Yeah, that I've talked about that with just some of my friends as well. I'm like, one of the things that would help you grow a lot more is just not being so outcome dependent. Like if you're like, I need to squeeze $1 out of this person today, like they're gonna feel that shit. Like we all have to make money, and we have to set up our business to be able to make money. But if you're doing it that way, it's just people can sniff it out. It's not going to be a very long lasting business.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of doing courses yourself?
I have, but not seriously because I've tried a couple things. I tried one-on-one coaching and just did like I wanted to experiment with different ways to monetize my brand and my channels with it feeling like good, with it feeling like authentic, with it like feeling like I was having fun doing it, and that the person value proposition, the person giving me the money was getting immense value as well. And so I tried a couple things. I tried one-on-one coaching. I wasn't having a lot of fun with one-on-one coaching because I was explaining the same concepts over and over to people, and it wasn't like overly stimulating for me. So I tried that for a couple months, quit that. I've tried various things and, you know, if I land on something that works, I'll go with it. But sometimes I just, if I don't really have anything, I'll just continue to create videos and provide value. I think the biggest thing for me is that I've gone into every single thing for the most part. I think I can genuinely say this, that the things that I've chose to pursue have been because I have a genuine interest in it. It's because like I have fun doing that thing. I've never gone into it saying, this thing over here is a moneymaker. And I'm going to do this because it's a moneymaker. I'm not like that. It's like, this thing over here looks fun, creating videos, telling stories, like talking poker, like something that I love to do. Playing this game is fun. Playing poker is fun. Oh, I can make money doing it. That's cool too. Like I've gone into these things having fun. And because I love it so much and because I'm so passionate about these things, it's naturally generated revenue streams, opportunities for income versus like, it's like the cart before the horse kind of thing. Like You got to go with what's fun for you and what you can build some passion around. And then the byproduct is the money, not going for the money and like hoping that the byproduct is also the money, you know?
Wow, that's a big point right there. Do you look at yourself now more as a YouTuber, like a professional YouTuber who is also a poker player, or do you look at yourself still as like a professional poker player that's also doing YouTube?
That's a really tough one because I've made my life in the last 14 years as a professional poker player. So it's part of my identity. I like being good at poker is part of my identity. Having the ability to win in tough games is part of my identity. And so to give that up, like it feels kind of like, oh, I don't want to give that up. But like I have to think bigger picture. Like, what's the bigger picture? The bigger picture is that I am able to afford to buy a home and like have send my kid to private school when I finally do have a kid and travel and like can I do that when I'm sitting at a poker table trading my time for money on a day-to-day basis? Probably not. Like I'm going to need to explore other avenues that can allow me to make I don't really like the term passive income. Let's call it residual income without without having to sit somewhere and like trade my time for that money. That's the path to wealth. That's the path to living the life that I really want. So I do have to give up my identity as a poker player a little bit and start to embrace this new identity as like a hybrid poker player who is also good at storytelling, who can also build businesses, who can also market.
Yeah. And I've got to believe, I'd love to know your opinion on this, but I've got to believe that as a purely professional poker player, especially if that's like literally all you're doing for the last decade or something, that's gotta like, does poker, is it even fun anymore? Like when I go play my like 2-5 games or something, I'm fucking excited, I'm super pumped. But I see some guys there who are just grinding, and it's not even fun. It looks like it's just
Yeah.
work.
The
Did that ever
short
happen to you?
the short answer to that question is no, it's not fun anymore. And even any time that you're doing something as like your job that you pour in like 40 hours a week, if you're not growing within that thing that you're doing, it ends up being a grind and it ends up being not fun. So in poker, one of the ways that you can combat that is you can continually learn. You can continually move up in stakes. You can get better at the games. You can learn PLO, which is another variant of a game. You can learn other games. So there's ways within your niche to continue to grow and continue to not have it feel like a job. But what happens is people get good at something and they realize that like, oh, this is my thing that I'm good at, and they stop growing. And when the moment you stop growing is the moment you stop having as much fun doing that thing. I think that inherently growth leads to new experiences, leads to fun.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's really, yeah. Yeah. That's funny. I've never heard anyone put it like that simply, and that makes complete sense. Um, okay. So cool. You mentioned something about NFTs as well. Let's kind of start talking about that. I'm actually just now starting to learn about it. I have friends who are buying these like $100,000 NFTs. I'm like, what is going on? And then flipping them for even, it's just mind blowing how much money is out there. Could you give us a little explanation about what an NFT is and what your involvement is right now? Because I know you got something coming up with it or doing something with it.
Yeah. So NFT, the name for it is a non-fungible token, and something that is non-fungible is something that is not duplicated. So it's a unique identification on the blockchain. And what people are doing is they're tying, the NFT can be anything, but one of the things that's really popular right now are profile pictures, social avatar projects. And what you were alluding to, where people were buying cartoons or pictures for, $100,000 or whatever. So what they're essentially doing is they're buying a picture, but and that's their picture that no one that they have exclusive rights to. But what they're really buying is they're buying exclusive membership into a club. And I think that that's what people aren't getting. They're also buying the ability into this club. And once you're into this club, you have the ability to flex on everyone on the internet and say, hey guys, I'm a part of this club. As you can see by my profile picture, I'm a part of this club. And everybody that's in this club, we share this interest of crypto. We're early adopters of crypto. We have like we have this like thing that like we all kind of identify with. It's like our group of people. It's like our tribe. And if you're not a part of it, like you're not as cool as us. And they just like love flexing about it, right? And then like everybody's creating these new projects to try to like raise up the ranks and be like, our club is cooler than your club. We're not buying JPEGs here. We're buying access to memberships to clubs, and we're competing over which club is cooler than the other club. And so one thing that I like to make it analogous to is streetwear culture. So streetwear culture, you have all these brands, right? You have Supreme, you have Stussy, you have Billabong, you have all of these streetwear brands that claim to be cooler than the other streetwear brand, right? And when you wear a Supreme shirt, you have the box logo on your shirt and you walk around and you're proud of it. You're like, hey guys, I'm a Supreme guy. You know, like the skateboards that I buy, they're Supreme. You know, like maybe my shoes are like Nike skateboarding shoes, but like, or you got the Van guys that are like never never Nike shoes, only Vans, right? And like you have all these people that think that their club is cooler than the other. And at the end of the day, because the NFT space is so new, you got all these startups that are like trying to create the coolest brand as quickly as possible. And there's a couple that have risen up through the ranks quickly, but there's so many that are going to fail. There's so many that are worthless right now that people are trying to make the next big thing. So it's an interesting space, and I think people get caught up in the fact that they're buying JPEGs, and that's not what they're buying. They're buying brands.
Yeah, they're buying brand exclusivity.
Yeah, exactly. Like when the guy that owns the Supreme shirt, he doesn't think that that shirt design is like better than the next shirt design. He just knows that it's a Supreme shirt and that he's naturally feels better wearing it because I don't know, it gives him access to the Supreme like subculture.
That's so true. Geez, my nephew, when he was younger, was like flipping Supreme stuff for like 4x the price because they would have these like launches and they would shut it down and he'd like buy it up and resell it. And he's like a kid doing this, you know? That's just nuts. It's so funny. I never heard about it being, that's a really interesting way of putting it because I always heard about it as these pictures and I just never got it. And
Yeah.
the exclusivity part makes a lot of sense. My buddy Robert Nava was telling me about, because he knows I like a recreational poker player. So he's like, I know you like poker, dude. You should check out this NFT. You get access to like this like casino or something. And I'm like, how do I own part of a casino if I get the? It's just super cool, but the exclusivity part, I can totally see that now. Can totally see that.
My wife just stood in front of the camera.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's all good. She had no idea that the camera was like over there.
No problem. No problem. So
yeah, so the other thing about these NFTs is the reason why they are so exclusive is because there's a limited number of them. So like in a lot of these projects, there will be like only 10,000 of them made, and there's never going to be more than those 10,000. So the supply demand dynamics of the supply demand economy of this just is such that if you want to be a member of this club, there's only 10,000 seats at the club. And like, if you want in, you're going to have to buy your seat off of someone else, and they have to be willing to sell that. And because the demand is so high for these limited number, I'll give you an example, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Think about that. The Bored Ape Yacht Club. Doesn't that just sound like something that's like exclusive? Like if you're in this club, like you get to ride on boats and like you're part of the apes. And, ape is like a term for someone that's like kind of like a whale, someone who has money.
yeah.
So and the Bored Ape Yacht Club is actually they're building a club in Miami where
Oh,
like,
wow. Really?
being a member of having the one of these pictures as your social avatar, owning one of these will give you access to this club in Miami.
Wow. Okay, so that brings it to another level. I thought all of this was basically just online. This is a great. It's like a consultation call for me. This is so that's insane. So you get access to. I can totally see how that's so exclusive now. You can't get into this club unless you're part of this like whatever ape club thing, and that's like madness. That's so sick. That is so sick. That I can totally see how that could be one of the new. I can see why this is going to continue growing. Then at first I was like, how are people making money selling pictures? Like, I don't get it, but they're doing it to get access to this exclusive shit, to be part of that next, whatever, I don't want to say next level, but that exclusive group.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. The interesting thing about the Bored Ape Yacht Club specifically is it's really caught on with NBA basketball players. So people like Steph Curry, he has one.
So now you're
Um,
associated with basketball players
exactly.
if you get that, you know, you're like part of that echelon or whatever.
But the fear is the worry, like the risk, I would say, is that brands aren't always cool all the time. Can you remember Ed Hardy 10 years
Oh
ago,
yeah,
12
yeah.
years ago? Like that was the coolest brand ever 12 years ago. And then a year later, it was the most whack brand ever. So that could happen with one of these social avatar brand um, clubs. Is like it could be cool today, but then tomorrow people could not think it's cool. And then all of a sudden the $100,000 membership fee that you paid is now worth 10,000, you know?
Oh, wow. I think tying the online and offline world like that club in Miami, that's going to make it, whoever's doing that type of stuff is going to, I think they're just going to have a longer run because they're really investing in it
Mhm.
and creating the community. So well, that's amazing. What are you, can you talk about like what you're doing in the NFT space with the
Yeah,
project?
I actually didn't bring that up. So I personally I grew up this way with a big love of sports. Like I played sports growing up. Basketball was kind of my number one sport that I played, but my number one sport to watch has always been football. My dad's from Texas, so I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan, which has been very painful, I must say, over the past 20 years or so. So I love sports, and NFTs and sports are crossing over right now. So the what we were talking about before with these profile picture projects, that's kind of like this whole like subgenre of NFT. Music, sports, like all these other niches are getting involved with NFTs. And one of the first thing to bring me into the NFT space was NBA Top Shot, which was basically licensed highlights of NBA moments. And it was through this company called Dapper Labs. And you could buy like LeBron James dunking on, Sabonis or whatever. I don't know. Like and then they would mint these and label them 1 through 1,000. So if you had one of the 1 through 1,000, you have ownership of that, and you can trade it on the blockchain. You can hoard it in your vault. You can put up a little display in your living room with like that rotates through the moments that you own.
That's
And I
sick.
thought it was a really neat thing. And I actually didn't get the social avatar project. Like I didn't really get that. I'm like, why are people buying cartoons? Like I don't get that. Like, but now like I get it later on. But at the time when I was first getting into NFTs, I was like, okay, I get this. This is the NBA. This is the NBA brand who's offering a cool, unique fan experience through NFTs and allowing you to own a piece of the NBA through the NFTs. And now the NFL is getting on board. The NFL is going to be coming out with their version through the same company that's going to allow you to collect moments. Like as a Dallas Cowboys fan, Dak Prescott hits CeeDee Lamb over the middle for a touchdown to win the game. Like that moment becomes available on the blockchain. I might scoop that one up. Like I might buy that one for $50, have it playing in my living room. So when I walk by every once in a while, I'm like, oh yeah, that's amazing. I own that moment. It's just a cool thing. I don't know. I'm really getting into it. So
That is
sorry. So the project that I started working on with one of my poker friends, who's very savvy, is we call it All Pro Index. And what it is it's a data analytics company where we are going to help people shop, price, evaluate their current portfolio of players. So like if you own a bunch of LeBron James, like we can kind of help you accurately predict what your portfolio of LeBron should cost, what you should get for it, how much you should sell moments for, how much you should buy them for. So kind of like a place where you log in and say, all right, what's my sports NFT collection worth today? Okay.
right.
How can I make this grow?
It's like
What are
your
some
stock
tools that I can
portfolio, but for
yeah, what are
NFT.
what are some tools I can look at to maybe buy and sell and trade today?
Wow. And so how far are you guys from launching that?
We're in beta right now. We're getting ready to accept users to help us test everything, but it's allproindex.com. And it'll be within the next month or so. It'll be something that I'll be talking about on my social medias more.
So sick. Okay, allproindex.com, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, make sure you go there and check it out and sign up. That sounds
It's
badass.
in beta right now, so yeah, it'll get better. And we want user feedback as well. We want to get it really rock solid before the NFL actually launches, because we want to be that go-to place where you evaluate your portfolio and where you shop and figure out like what moves you're going to make within the sports NFT space.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Man, this has been such a cool call for me because I've always wanted to know like your history with poker, how you transitioned to the vlogging world and all of that. So I feel like I got my really cool consultation here. I always look at these calls like I'm just going to get someone way better and smarter than me and I can just get as much knowledge from them. So this was awesome. I know the people who are going to be listening to this are going to get tons of value from it as well. Where can people find more about you, man?
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's the easiest place is just to go to johnnyvibes.com. And as a marketer, I got all the spellings. If you spell Johnny Vibes wrong, incorrectly, it's still going to take you to my website. Just go to johnnyvibes.com. No matter what, you spell it wrong, it's going to redirect you to the right spelling. And from there,
Awesome.
you can get all my social links. I would say my biggest value proposition is on YouTube, where I talk about how I play poker hands. But I give you guys, I give people a glimpse into the life of a poker player. And more recently, I'm going to start with my second channel, Embrace the Grind, which is like podcast focused. I'm going to start getting glimpses into life as a budding entrepreneur, life as someone who's hustling outside of poker as well.
I love it. I love it. Guys, make sure you check it out. JohnnyVibes.com. Embrace the grind. Johnny Vibes on YouTube.
Yeah, you can find Embrace the Grind by going to etgshow.com.
etgshow.com. Guys, make sure you check it out. Subscribe. Amazing, dude. I really appreciate you coming on here, Johnny. This was super helpful for me. And I know a lot of other people are going to get some value out of this.
Thanks, man, Carl. It's fun connecting with you, man. I appreciate you having me on.
100%. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.